Hey everyone, it's Kristen, and today we're doing a look based on the Throne of Glass book series, and this is the new style cover for Queen of Shadows. This one was my favorite book in the series and also my favorite cover, so I'm really excited to try to recreate this. To start this look, I used white face paint to outline the mountains and the castle. I wanted to make sure that I had them all sort of proportional and where I wanted them to be before filling them in. So here I'm just creating the mountains first, and then I'm going to be doing the castle on top. It is sometimes hard to figure out the proportions, so sometimes I had to go back and erase and try again. I also had to account for having a wider space instead of a taller space. This picture was very tall and had very tall castles, so I had to sort of accommodate that on my skin. Then past a certain point on the right hand side, I had to sort of make up what was going on over on that side because it cuts off in the image. So pretty much all of this side that I'm working on right now is just what I made up because the image cuts off on that side. And I just sort of kind of continued the castle and what I thought it might look like and tried to make it sort of going into the mountain itself. Here I began to fill in some of the rocks on this side, first starting with an outline and then filling it in with the black. We'll be using gray later to make sort of the light and shadows. Then after taking a closer look at the background, I decided to go ahead and fill in the red. I thought maybe it might be better to fill in the red and the clouds before moving on to the buildings. Then using a lighter pink, I'm going around the buildings and the mountains and creating sort of like a glow from behind. This is the reason I decided to go ahead and fill in the red first. I thought it might be easier to make this sort of glow around the outside easier without the black being there first. Next for the clouds, I go ahead and make a cloud-like shape, first starting with an outline and then filling in the top part. Then using a brush to blend that color downwards so it kind of creates a transparency towards the bottom. Then the clouds sort of have an overlapping pattern, so at the very bottom I create the new line. Then blend downward for the transparent effect. Then I use a dark burgundy eyeshadow on the top section of the clouds to make sure they are separated from the ones behind them. giving it sort of a shadow and making it look like it's in front of the other one. And then I just keep making different cloud patterns, trying to stick as closely as possible to the inspiration photo. Then at the bottom section, it kind of has a hazy cloud-like look. So I'm using a lighter pink to fill in the sky in that shape. Then in the distance, you can kind of see some red looking mountains and the clouds sort of behind them. Then creating a few clouds above the building area along my neck. For the buildings, I filled these ones in with black, and then I'm using some gray to create a highlight to kind of show where the sun is hitting on that side. This will begin to sort of give it a 3D effect and be able to differentiate between one building to the next. For most of the buildings, it's more gray on the left side and dark black on the other, showing that the sun is coming from the one direction. Here I'm filling in more of the red sky in the hollow area under the bridge. Some of the taller buildings are a little bit more detailed, so here you can see I'm making some lines on the gray area to show the different parts of the building. Then adding white so the windows will look like they're lighted from within. When doing the sky, I forgot to add this little wyvern shadow. This is supposed to make it look like he's sort of behind the clouds and all you can see is his shadow kind of shining through. So here I just quickly fill in the little wyvern. Then in some of the gray areas I add a little bit of shadow because that's what it looks like in the picture. Here I decided to add another bridge on this side and a more like boxy looking building that kind of goes into the mountain itself. They describe Morath as being sort of carved into the mountain, I believe, so this is why I went with that. For the mountains, I started with the gray, kind of making the highlight shapes and the texture of the mountain, and then filled in the empty spaces with black. Making sure that there was sort of a separation between each mountain peak, either with black or with gray, depending on what the color next to it was, to make sure that you could tell that they were separate mountains. For the trail up the mountain, I just did that in gray and then filled in again the empty spaces with black. And that completes our Throne of Glass, Queen of Shadows face paint makeup look. I really love this cover and thought it was a unique design and was really excited to give it a try. Let me know what you guys think of this look in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching and hope to see you guys again soon.